Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to the penultimate day here in Belgium, and it is another absolutely corker of a day. We got some blue skies, absolutely zero clouds in the skies today, and so far not a breath of wind, which is sick. So far today I've washed my kit. It's currently drying on the old park here that's come with our accommodation. I've also washed my bike. I mean, the situation was pretty limited. All I had was a bucket of water, no degreaser or anything for the chain, just some fairy liquid. So I think I've done a pretty good job. The chain is looking reasonably fresh right now. But yeah, the bike's ready for another day of Belgium Kermesse racing. And we are back racing a Kermesse today. Yesterday was a crit, it was only a 70k race. So it's more of a shorter day, but today we're back into a standard 120k conventional Kermesse. It's going to be 2 hours 45, maybe 3 hours of racing. So yeah, standard 3 p.m. start this afternoon. It's a 20-minute drive to the race today, so that means we've got to be there for around 2 and set off at about 1:30. Right now it's just gone 1 o'clock, which means it's time to get some food down us, a little bit of a pre-race snack. Then we've got to pack the van and head off to the race. And then I did something that I've never done in my whole 5 years of racing. I drove to the race, unpacked the car, went to get my kit bag out, and then realised I forgot my bloody kit bag. Luckily, it was only like a 15-minute drive home, so I quickly unpacked the car, drove home as fast as I legally could do, pick up my kit bag, return to the race, and pin my number on. Yeah. And after what was a pretty hectic 30 minutes, we made it onto the start line with 7 minutes to go. I can confirm no speed limits were broken in the making of this race. Man, my adrenaline's through the roof right now. All right guys, we're back on the start line of Kermesse race number 4 of the week out of 5. We've got one more to do tomorrow, but today is the penultimate day. I want you to let me guys know in the comment section, do you prefer me just doing like I did yesterday, which was just, you know, a 2-minute kind of montage of the race, or do you prefer it when I go into a little bit more detail about different kind of factors of the race and do more of a voiceover situation like we're currently doing right now? Let me know in the comment section, guys. I'd be keen to hear your suggestions for future videos, etc, etc, etc. Anyway, today we're racing in a town called Enquiries in West Flanders, and this was a race that we did last year when I came over with Ollie, and Steve was here last year as well, and Steve actually went on to win this race. I don't know if you guys remember the videos from last year, but Steve won this race. He actually won it like solo. He was away for about 50 kilometers. Well, he's away for the most of the race, but he was away for 50k on his own solo. I just remember getting a time cut from the race saying Steve's on his own with like 2.5 minutes, and we had 50k to go. And I mean, like I was in the chase group behind. Obviously, I wasn't chasing because it was my teammate up the road, but I was sat on the back of the chase group thinking, like, we're chasing hard here, man. We're chasing hard. And I mean, by the time we got to the finish, the gap came down a little bit, but it really did not come down like that much. It was pretty incredible what Steve managed to do last year. But anyway, we're in the same town again this year, but it's actually a new circuit. It's a different circuit. A little bit of a circuit was a part of the circuit last year, but we do it in reverse. For example, this straight that we're currently going down was the second to last straight last year, whereas this year it's the first straight, but we're doing it in the opposite direction. And then instead of heading like one way, we headed the other. So it's a completely different circuit, and because of that, we're doing a neutral lap right now. And neutral laps aren't something that happens very often in Belgium. Normally, you know, the flag drops and the race is on, and it's a sprint from the absolute gun. But today, they're doing something that they don't normally do, and they're doing a sighting lap or a neutral lap, just so everyone can get to grips with the course and they can see where we're going, and you know, any technical parts, for example, the cobbled corner that you'll see later on, and yeah, like that's what we're doing right now. I've got no power at the minute. It says that with no power, you can just see that the duration is going up. My power meter was playing up a little bit. But it does come into play a little bit later on. Like it starts working in a few minutes. But anyway, I'm going to skip ahead here until about 12 minutes and 40 seconds. We've just finished a lap. We've just finished the neutral lap, and the race is on. as you can see, standard, we're attacking from the gun. I'm just trying to, there's a little group of 4 or 5 that are getting away. There's one of the shifting gears riders. I'm not sure who this is. Perhaps it's Eamon Lucas. Really strong rider from America who's living over in Belgium or Holland, I think, doing Kermesse racing. So I'm trying to, so this looks like a good group, so I'm trying to get across to it, or I do get across to it, but this time it comes to no avail. But from the Kermesse racing that I've done in Belgium, from the races that I've done over the past couple of years, I've kind of noticed a trend from the races that I've done anyway. They all kind of have a similar trend, and that is the breakaways, the front groups then they don't necessarily happen because the bunch sits up and, you know, people get the jump and it's, or, you know, the bunch doesn't chase and you're able to get into like a soft move or a soft breakaway. From my own opinion and from my own from what I've seen, breakaways happen, the splits happen in, for example, the crosswinds, and it's going to be the strongest 5 or 10 guys in that front group, and you know they're at the front of the race because they're the strongest riders, and it's as simple as that. Like, there's not, I mean, obviously tactics come into it and strategy and all that kind of stuff comes into it. Certainly, like, especially towards the end of the races, that comes into it. You know, when people are attacking and you kind of have a Mexican standoff and no one wants to shut the gap, and then suddenly someone cracks and they shut the gap and then everyone jumps. But for the most part, at the start of these races, the breakaways happen, the front splits happen because it's lined out in a crosswind and suddenly someone's not strong enough, so they drop the wheel, they let the wheel go, and a split forms. So it's the strongest guys at the front of the race. So long story short, the plan for us guys today is to just get stuck in, and you know, being aggressive in the first 20 or 30 minutes pays massively, or normally pays massively for the rest of the race, because that's when the first splits happen and that's when the weakest riders go out the back. So as you can see, I'm trying my hardest here to stay towards the front. You don't want to be on the front, obviously. You want to be right near the front, so you can monitor attacks and you can see where, you know, this is quite an open bit. Unfortunately today, the wind wasn't actually that great. So what this meant was, it wasn't really, there was no echelons into the crosswind, so it's not really that lined out. And being off the front is really hard because the pace is so high. But when you're sat in the bunch like I am right now, you can see my power. I'm sat at 150 watts. So when you're in the bunch like this, it's not actually that hard to be there. But when you're off the front, it's super hard to be in, you know, to be off the front. So this is actually like one of the hardest parts of the course from my, like, from what I experienced today. It was a sharp left-hander, almost a dead left-hander, into a big wide open road. So every lap, this is where people were just attacking and ripping it. And this was probably the most windy, the windiest part of the course. As you can see, it's kind of in a bit of an echelon. Ollie hits it down there on the right hand side, and I decided to follow this guy's wheel because all the time you're fighting to stay at the front. And I mean, look, we're doing 1100 watts there to get on this guy's wheel. So, you know, at points in this race, it gets real grippy, and this is what tires my legs down anyway. Just these repeated attacks and repeated efforts. You know, you spend the whole race sat at 250 watts in the wheels, and then you come out of a corner at 1000, then you drop back down. You know, look at that, I'm freewheeling right now doing 0 watts, and then you're back up at a high power. And it's that constant change, that constant variable between low and high power, that is just so hard to do. So as you can see, that time the attack didn't come to any avail. Ollie came back in, but this was kind of the feature for the entirety of the race. Look, the guys looking around there thinking, right, no one's chasing that, and I'm kind of playing bluff a little bit, but no one else jumped, so I decided to jump, and I'm trying to get across to these two guys because, you know, more than often in Belgium, there's a lot of strong riders, and there's a lot of riders like at a very similar level. You know, there's a lot of young guys from different countries that come to Belgium to do Kermesse racing because it's kind of like the bread and butter of our sport. So there's a lot of good riders that come to Belgium, and there's a lot of good riders on a very similar level. So there's a lot at stake here, and moves don't go very easily. Like, you gotta go hard to get in moves and to get in splits. And so after the first kind of few minutes of the race, spending some pennies trying to get in breaks, trying to get in attacks, I decide that you know, nothing's getting away this early, so I thought that I would sit in the wheels and try. I mean, I'm doing 700 watts here. What am I talking about? But I thought I would, you know, spend some time to just chill out for a bit, bring the heart rate back down. You know, after the past few days, it was kind of at this point where I'm starting to swing. So I'm looking at 23 minutes thinking, right, okay, I just need to look after myself a bit. Don't go into the red too much. You know, don't get too excited too soon. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So you kind of play bluff a little bit. There's obviously attacks going at the front, but you're just hoping that they're going to get chased down, and you know, you're not going to miss any substantial moves or attacks. Okay, we're back at the front now. I'm on Ollie's wheel. We're trying to shut down. There's another little move of 5 or 6 guys ahead, and we're on this chap in front of Ollie is kindly bringing us back. Oh, he swings off. There it is. Now it's Ollie's turn. Oh no, we're not going to move. Oh, I think Is Will in this break? I feel like Will will be in this move. That's why me and Ollie aren't chasing. Yeah, so Will's in that little split in front. So this is perfect team tactics, like from me and Ollie. We're on a smaller road, and we both kind of were at the front then. And you're not freewheeling, like you're not braking, but you're just soft pedaling, and that way it allows the group ahead to get a nice little easy advantage. And once they've got that gap, once they've got that advantage, it's much easier for them to pull away, because you know they haven't got the riders in front aren't benefiting from the draft. And 1,400 watts I saw there. Jesus, mental. Anyway, yeah, Will's in that group front the group ahead, and I chased that guy at the corner, and I didn't just want to sit on his wheel to annoy him, so I rolled through and then kind of sat up and soft pedaled to just try and give Will's group the most benefit possible without being an arsehole, I guess, if we want to put it in layman's terms. But yeah, as we can see, the riders are far too aggressive. They're far too fresh. Everyone's attacking. I decided to jump now to try and get away, to get across the Will's group, and you can kind of get. I'm sure it's starting to paint a picture in your head. It's like the common theme of this kind of racing. It's just attack after attack after attack, and there's that many riders in these races. There's going to be someone every 2 minutes in the race that's going to have fresh legs, so they're going to be able to attack next. And it's just about attacking, and eventually the elastic's going to snap, but no one knows when that is. Or I mean, you can kind of guess and make educated guesses as to when that's going to happen, but ultimately no one really knows when these moves are going to stick and when they're going to get away, because inevitably they are going to. Okay guys, so at this point, right, so Will's attacking there. Just be conscious of Will attacking there on the right hand side. At this point in the race, there's a group of about 6 guys in the lead, and Will just got himself into a little bit of a chase group there, chasing the leaders. So again, here's me and Ollie in the front. We're on a smaller part of the road. We're at 1:30, so guys are starting to get a bit tired at this point in the race. So no one really wants to shut the moves down straight away. Everyone starts looking around, so that's why me and Ollie came to the front then. We're both kind of on the front, and we're keeping a nice little tempo, and that way people behind us are less inclined to jump us and to go across. And ultimately it gives Will, again, like it did earlier on in like I just said in the video, it gives him that gap. And once him and his group get a gap, and if they're all committed and if they all want to work, they're gonna work. So that group went off. I mean, we're lined out here a little bit, but Will's group is already 5 or 10 seconds up the road, so they're gonna have to do a massive effort to bring those guys back. You know, it was a group of about 10 committed riders. So I think I try and get back to the front again with Ollie, but ultimately Will got himself into a little move then. Me and Ollie blocked the road, and they got their gap, and it was a perfect situation for us. There's a group of 6 or 8 ahead. Will's group of 10, which were chasing that group, and then me and Ollie are kind of in what was the main bunch, or what was left of the main bunch of the race. And that was it. Will's group got away. They were never to be seen again. And right now I'm just going to skip to the last lap, because the way these Belgian races work, when the time gets a time gap, they pull the back groups. I think, you know, the front group and Will's group had 2 or 3, maybe even 4 minutes at this stage, so they pulled us 3 to go. So this is our last lap. It says we've done 2 minutes, but it's more like 2 hours and 2 minutes. I'm not sure why the duration's messed up there, but this is the final corner. This group that I'm in isn't really that big, and honestly, I didn't have a whole lot left in the leg, so you know, I'm just trying to get myself in as best position for this sprint as possible. We're racing for maybe a top 20 here, I think it was a top 20. I think there's like 18 guys ahead in total, so you know, top 20 is decent with a 70-80 rider field. Ollie's just ahead. Ollie attacked like 2k to go, he did a solo YOLO. This guy here from Richardson's Trek attacks. It's lined out, I jump into the wheels, and yeah, we're about 600 meters to go now. At this point, we probably want to start ramping it a bit more, but again, like, I've not got a whole lot left in the legs. I'm just trying to surf the wheels and stay as far forward as I possibly can. We're starting to open up the sprint here. 500 watts, 600 watts, 500, 550. So we're going 700, 800, 900, and we peak at 1,000. Oh, just there we go. There's 1,000. So yeah, man, not much of a sprint on me today. Guys just came around me for fun right there, but yeah, that's it. Race done. Happy to finish a Kermesse. That is a solid 105k in the legs. There's Ollie just finishing just in front of me for like I think Ollie finished like 20th, 21st. These are the leaders. 2 laps to go. And this is Will. Go, Will! Go, Willie!
I felt well strong.
So me and Ollie ended up in the 3rd group in the race.
Woo, 3rd group.
3rd group, woo! We're a few minutes behind the front 2 groups, so he pulled us with 3 to go. Now we're just going to head to the finish to watch Will. He's in the 2nd group, in a big group, chasing the leaders.
Disappointing.
Yeah?
Not to be in the front group. But
Following the wrong moves today.
oh, just all the wrong moves. So
I reckon we still rolled a top 20 or something. Top 30.
Top 20, I reckon.
Oh, that's nice.
Yes!
Damon, Frank Damon wint hier de wedstrijd. Ze zaten zich op genaderd, maar kwamen enkele lottermeters te...
That gap came down so much in the last lap. Will's group was literally a couple of seconds off the leaders. I think Will came in like a top 15 and a top 20, maybe top 25 for me and Ollie. Fairly decent day, pretty hard day out in terms of power and heart rate and stuff, and I'm happy to just finish a Kermesse. Got one under the belt.